and the SuperKonnector. And today we have a special guest, Chef Misha, and I'm gonna let Steven introduce Chef Misha. Welcome, gentlemen. How are you doing?
Doing great. How you doing, Misha?
Fantastic, fantastic.
Doing pretty good. We're on site. We're on location at Atma Church, a really amazing plant medicine church in Austin, Texas, where last night Misha worked his magic as Chef Misha, running the after party for the How Do You Health biohacking event that was held at Music Hill Ranch. So we had a ton of people here at the church. Misha cooked up an amazing meal, and that's kind of what he does. Misha's got an incredible story of overcoming addictions with food and other things by learning to cope with that by cooking healthy food and teaching other people how to eat healthy as well, no matter what the circumstance is, no matter what their primary way of eating is. And there's lots more to that. I'm going to let Misha kind of give a little more of his background, and then we'll kind of dive into our topic and we'll have some fun.
Thank you for having me, Stephen. Thank you, guys, and Fernando. I guess, just to say, hello, everybody. My name is Chef Misha Hyman. I run a company called the Health Warrior Project. And my mission and my kind of purpose on this planet is to teach people that you can eat whole, real food and have it be delicious, affordable, and it can actually not just be good for you, but good for the planet. It can help reverse mental illness, chronic disease, lower inflammation, which we know is the root of all, chronic disease and mental illness, in the Western world and also across the globe. So I am a chef, but I also, my kind of real mission in life is to use my chef hat to kind of use these, let's just say defunct farms or pieces of land that maybe people think is just, barren wasteland, but really they have the ability to all be transformed into food oases and wellness centers where actually you can use biodynamic farming, regenerative agriculture practices to actually regenerate the land, regenerate the soil, to regenerate our microbiomes of our individual community, and then regenerate our own community to, heal the next generation. So, in a nutshell, I believe you can use food, you can use connectivity, you can use, connection to, heal community and also heal the planet. And, lowering inflammation, not just, what we put in our body, but also the information you receive, how we interact in our world, what products we use, whether it's household products or, technology. Stephen has a, EMF sticker on his laptop right here and on his phone. So obviously we're a little more protected than probably everybody else out there to, really, lower inflammation. So we're in the inflammation business, and that's my job, is to deflame you so we can, create, longevity and create sustainability for you and for the planet.
And Chef Misha, what's one food that people, when they start eating, learning from you how to deflame their bodies, what's one food they get most surprised to learn that lead to inflammation?
Leads to, you say they remove it or they add it into their body? So
That like which foods that you've noticed when people start learning from you, they realize that those foods cause inflammation and they had no idea. So which foods are not so obvious to most people that have come to learn from you?
Yeah, I think for the most part, everyone kind of gets, the whole, I wouldn't say everyone. People who are in the know would say, kind of understand that gluten, grains, a lot of, oats, wheats, kind of cause a lot of inflammation, bread, oatmeal, all that fun stuff. But it's not just, that, it's also sugar, right? I think a lot of people are really, uninformed of how toxic sugar is for our bodies, how toxic it is for our brains, how addictive sugar is. Sugar is 8 times more addictive than cocaine, right? So if you get a hit of cocaine, you're 8 times more likely to get another hit of sugar if you did a sugar line than cocaine. So think about that, right? We're literally addicted to that dopamine rush, that dopamine hit, and we're constantly going to the grocery store. And Steve and I just came back from HEB, which is the pretty regular grocery store, or pretty common grocery store in Austin, Texas, or in Texas. But every aisle there's junk food, processed food, candy, and checkout line candy everywhere. And for us, we're just going in the aisles. When I go grocery shopping, I'm always saying, just go in the aisles. I'm gonna start on the outside. Don't go in the aisles. Go where there's fish, the vegetables, and meat, and kind of like get your spices and then roll out. So I think really, the grocery store is packed with anti-inflammatory foods in the vegetable aisle, but everywhere else is really packed with high inflammatory foods. So obviously the processed grains, processed sugars, but, refined flours, refined, anything refined, anything ultra processed is super inflammatory. So I think my clients don't really when they come in, have a full grasp of, what in their own kitchen, in their own cabinet can actually cause to, stress to their hormones, stress to their nervous system. So I go into their cabinets and actually have to redo their whole, kitchen cabinet and take everything out that's toxic, put everything in that's, super healthy and nutrient dense, like the healthy spices versus the toxic, sugars. And, basically one thing that I think people really don't know is salt, right? So a lot of like Morton's table salt and these terrible salts, iodized salts, these are one of the worst things for you and can create a lot of, sickness in our bodies. So just like changing your salt, right? Having Himalayan sea salt or Celtic sea salt or Malden's kosher salt with the thick flakes makes a huge difference. So that's just, one thing. I said a few things, but that's one thing that people really, are shocked by with the salt intake. And one more note on that. I have clients who are saying, oh, I'm iodine deficient, so I need the iodized salts, like the kosher Morton's iodized salt. So for those who don't know, salt, it has 34 trace minerals if it's like Celtic sea salt. Himalayan sea salt has 84 trace minerals. But Morton's table salt has 2 trace minerals, sodium and iodine, right? So it's not enriched with iodine. It's just not stripped with iodine. So if you need iodine, don't have that salt. Have, iodine supplements and then have a regular salt, full spectrum salt.
Yeah.
Steven, I saw your eyes open up when he talked about salt, because you're the one that told me like a month or two ago that you learned something new about salt. Remember that?
Yeah, we were talking about Celtic sea salt because we had a huge discussion at Harhari's after party with Victor Sagalowski, and he went deep into the salt world because he's very studied in that. We talked about Celtic sea salt, but the other reason why my eyes went like that is I have a family member who has no salt in the household because he thinks all salt is bad.
Yeah.
Processed salt is really bad. Salt in all the processed food is really bad. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I had just clicked on my live on my mobile, and then yeah, go ahead, keep going, please.
So salt in processed foods, horrible. Salt from good sources is great, and one of the top sources on that to learn a little more about salt, if you want to plug it, is Dr. Stephen Finney, Stephen with a PH, who has tons and tons of studies showing that your mortality, your rate of chances of death increase if you're having less than 3 grams of salt per day. 3 grams of salt is quite a bit spread throughout the day in all your food. So you do want to have healthy salt in your food. You can even put healthy salt in your water to help you retain the water, the healthy water, but you want to source good water. So one of the things I really appreciate about Misha is he's like you, Fernando, has an incredible personality, has fun with everything that he does. And he shows people how to have fun with this stuff, not make it laborious or a pain in the ass. And that's kind of what I'm hoping our topic will be tonight is talking about how to get through the holidays, eating healthier. If you've got certain addictions, how to balance that, how to structure your stuff, and not go sideways or fall off the rails, and also not cause so much stress that you get more damage from the stress than you would have had from eating some bad food.
That's very important. Yeah.
So Misha's lived this stuff. He's not only talking from somebody that has credibility and knowledge, but he's lived through his battles with all of this stuff through his life. And so he's like one of the greatest guys to teach something like this, because he's not coming from some superior vantage point. He's coming from a vantage point where he can relate and empathize with everybody that's having these struggles. So anyway, so Misha, I'll let you take it from there. And Fernando, if you kind of want to ask some questions.
Yes, totally. So Misha, after you come, yeah, totally. So Misha, after you come into people's homes and you have them open their cupboards and start putting everything in trash bags, are there tears of, are they crying? Are they saying, no, please, give me that piece of chocolate. I want it, what is it like? Or are they just like, tell me what to do. I'll do anything. I just want to be healthy. How is it like? What is it like?
Yeah. So typically clients who hire me, they're at their last wits end, their last resort, to come in before they hire like a really expensive doctor to, or they've hired a doctor and the doctor can't translate what they've, taught in the functional medicine kind of structure into like what goes on their plate. Right. So a lot of doctors can't cook. A lot of cooks don't know how to cook healthy. That's kind of what I do, is I kind of bring the two together of how to, from white coat to white apron, as I like to say. So the parents
From
usually
white
don't
coat
mind.
to what?
To white coat to white apron. So like
Wow.
white coat, doctor's coat, white apron is the chef. So the parents usually don't mind, or one of the parents who hired me doesn't mind, but it's the other parent who is like not into it, or the kids. There's usually someone who's like very resistant. And if you have a whole family household and everyone's kind of, you know, overweight or have dealing with similar health issues, it's basically really hard to get everyone on the same page unless you do it together, right? Individually, you can't really kind of steer a ship if everyone's, you know, paddling their own direction. So yes, there is resistance usually, but it takes for me, you know, about like if I'm with them, usually the client hires me, I'll stay for a weekend and totally revamp, or I'll just come in and do their cupboards. I'll do a few meals for them so the kids and everyone can kind of taste the real food. So my whole thing is cooking real whole food, very simple ingredients, very basic, you know, spices, but a lot of, by basic, I mean not like super processed foods, but like just, you know, I use a lot of cumin seed, mustard seed, a lot of Ayurvedic seasonings. Anything at your local grocery store, you pretty much can get it. A lot of curry powders, turmeric, you know, a lot of things to kind of lower inflammation. But once they kind of can taste the food, feel the food, they actually will feel themselves. Like I've actually had a client the day before Thanksgiving. They hired me to do with Thanksgiving, and I did a big prep lunch, and he was swimming for, you know, like an hour and a half, 2 hours. 65-year-old guy, super, you know, relatively healthy, on the functional medicine program, knows some doctors I work with on the program, but doesn't always eat healthy, right? Has a little bit of a gut. I just made him like some, you know, plate of veggies and a, you know, one piece of chicken or something. And he's eating it. And it was, to me, it was like the most basic thing. I just sauteed it together, a lot of stuff the next morning, just put it in one pan. And he's like, oh, I feel my brain like creating new neurons. Like I feel my body rejuvenating within like minutes of eating vegetables, because he always eats like, you know, a burger or fries. So when you see that and you feel that, it's easier to kind of buy into what I'm saying. And I'm not one of these, you know, vegan chefs or health focused chefs who are just, you know, boiled chicken, boiled broccoli, brown rice. Like that's not what we do, right? So I'm all about eating the rainbow, full spectrum vegetables. Like we had 14 dishes the other night. 2 of them were meat, rest of them were vegetables, right? So it's all about variety, all about eating, you know.
And incredibly flavorful, like very far from bland food. Incredibly flavorful. And he cooked for about 30, 35 people, all by himself, tons of dishes without breaking a sweat. That's even a show to watch Misha perform and do what he does. But
we have
really,
some B-roll. We have some B-roll with Steven in it also, so he'll be in it. But no, so I think ultimately, sorry to interrupt you, but ultimately it's the experience of coming in there, going in the cupboards. There might be some resistance, but once they try the food and they see what's happening, their bodies will respond and their brains will actually respond. So we do these dinner parties and people are up till like 2 or 3 in the morning still wanting to engage because they're not crashing. They're not having that food coma. So that's kind of the issue with a lot of my parties is the host will be like, hey, we got to shut down. Everyone's, you know, I got to like, you know, go to bed. But like everyone's like 3 in the morning. Everyone's still like chirping, great energy, biohacking. So my whole mission is like to trick people, to trick adults to eat their vegetables, right? And just by having a fun dinner. So I have like these big dinner parties, and at the end we'll be like, hey, I just tricked 85 adults to have all your recommended daily intake of vitamins in one meal. And they're like, okay, great, I'll buy in. But no, the kids, sometimes they're resistant, but once they try the food, they get it. And then also it's an education thing, right? So it's not so much a lack of access for these even low-income communities, right? It's not so much a lack of access to how to eat real healthy food, it's lack of education. And I think for me, that's the biggest point is we have to educate, you know, schools, you know, prisons, you know, elementary schools, you know, boys and girls clubs, nonprofits, churches, just these basic principles, right? And go in and have a, you know, community dinner once a week. And, you know, that's kind of my whole mission is I train chefs all around the country to, you know, do like right now I have a chef doing a Monday night dinner at a music studio in LA under my kind of umbrella that I'm not there, but she's, you know, feeding the community in Inglewood, like in the downtown area in this big music. It's actually near Snoop Dogg's studio. So it's like a really interesting area where we can feed this community with music and with, if you're in San Diego, I gotta have you get out there and maybe in the next few weeks. If you're into music at all, it's amazing. Tiny Room Studios, LA, Greg Spiro, check him out. Amazing studio. every Monday we do a jam session, but basically teaching people how to eat whole, real food. So it seems like basic, very basic, but like no one, like we're in Austin, right? There's no healthy restaurant anywhere. We're like in one of these healthy pop-up places, in America, and there's nowhere to really get a real nice, healthy meal. So if your homes can become the best restaurant, it can just save our planet, save our wallet, save our health, save our mental health, save our families.
Yeah, and one of the challenges with going out to eat, even if you do find what you think is a healthy restaurant, is they're usually not 100%, but very high majority of restaurants are cooking with vegetable oils or called vegetable oils. They're really just.
Oh, I would say most. I would say 85 to 90% of restaurants are not using olive oil. And if they're using olive oil, it's like olive oil pressed with plastics and crap like Kirkland olive oil. You're very rarely you find it, even in New York where I live, you're not seeing restaurants unless the owner or the chef is like really, does not care about the margins. They're always cutting corners. And I think that's important for us to know about, especially on these young millennials who always want to go out and go to these healthy vegan restaurants. A lot of the stuff in there is not healthy ingredients. And, that's kind of my mission, is to educate people on how to change that a little bit.
And those, or even so, my point was, even if you're eating what you think could be healthy food, if you're cooking with harsh oils, those are one of those inflammatory things you can put in your body. So you could do all this work to get what you think is healthy food, and you're just tanking it with the oils.
Yeah, it creates oxidative stress, it creates cancers. It's like totally a downstream effect of total poison. Absolutely.
So what I wanted to get into is, we had Thanksgiving, we're going back into the holidays, other type of holiday meals now, and people have already kind of had their first go around with Thanksgiving. We're going into some other dinner parties and things like that. So Misha, what are some recommendations you have for people to kind of dial things in to keep them on track? Maybe not eat the healthiest they've eaten in their lives going through the holidays, but not fall off Santa's sleigh.
Yeah. So you made a few mentions earlier about my past with addiction, food eating addictions, and also the stress on your body with terms of like how to be, super strict in these times. And orthorexia is almost worse. Which orthorexia, if you don't know what it is if you're almost too strict with like a certain diet, you have to basically go out to eat, and some person's like, oh, is there gluten in that? Okay, I'm not going to have it. And it stresses not just them out, everyone else out. Their entire nervous system's totally stressed out, and their body actually will get more sick even if they have healthy ingredients by that stress. So that's important. But I do want to just say that, my background is as a chef. I actually had I had a girlfriend in college who was a chubby chaser. You know what that term is? A chubby chaser?
No. What's that?
A chubby chaser, everyone can Urban Dictionary really quickly, but if they don't believe me, I'll wait. Okay. Chubby chaser basically is a term. It's a real term. It's about someone who likes their partner heavier, right? So it's a psychological trait where you want your partner to like be super overweight so they can't leave you if they ever, want whatever. There's a lot of psychology in that.
Oh my gosh, I have a friend.
Google it right now. Chubby chaser, Urban Dictionary. It's
Yeah. Oh my God. I think Steven and I have a mutual friend that I think that happened. That they called.
Say their name on the podcast. No, I'm kidding. So I had a girlfriend when I was 22. So my whole life, my father was like a functional medicine doctor. Grew up super macrobiotic, crunchy granola before that was a thing. And I never grew up with processed food in the house. So that's how I kind of know how to cook real whole food. Is I had to actually at a young age, if I wanted to eat, my family wasn't home, I had to actually make a meal, right? Make brown rice, make chicken, grilled chicken, whatever. Make veggies, go to the garden. So when I went to college, I kind of went free for a minute. So I had a girlfriend that, was a chubby chaser. And I was warned by a few of my friends that a previous boyfriend, they both gained like 80 pounds and 50 pounds. But I was always like had a super issue and eating disorder and kind of binge eating issues and body dysmorphia stuff. So the first time I had a partner, I was like, "Ooh, I like when you are full after dinner. And I like how your belly is full." Like I was like, "Okay, that's weird," but started dating her, and 7 months later, I gained 127 pounds. 9 months later, I gained 127 pounds.
Damn.
So I was 208, and I ended up being like 331 pounds or something crazy. And then I was like, wow, let's change this. So I basically went kind of keto before keto was a thing. And I did like bone broth before bone broth was a thing. So I was doing like Vietnamese pho, big bowls of broth with no noodles and like extra veggies and extra like meat and whatever. And we just eat that every day, once a day, intermittent fast, and stick to the keto and lost 125 pounds in 7 months. So since I've been doing that, this is a little side story. We'll get into that another story later, but to answer your question about the holidays. So since then, my kind of mission is to help people with disordered eating issues, help people with any food sensitivity stuff to kind of figure the holidays out, especially during Christmas, Thanksgiving. Not just you guys live in San Diego, you live in Florida, but in the Northeast where I'm from, it's like comfort food season for a lot of people, right? So it gets started at 4 o'clock. They can start eating. They have like 3 dinners before 10 o'clock at night, right? So what I would do, and I'd say especially for the holidays, like the first thing you got to do is make sure your nervous system and your brain and your breath is constant and your brain is leveled and your nervous system is calm. So I would say if you have any anxiety, depression, stress stuff, any food stuff, have a gratitude journal in the morning, spend 10 minutes meditating, listen to Joe Dispenza, do whatever you got to do, to ground yourself. There's a million things you can do to meditate, download an app, Buddhify, there's a million of them, right? But then in terms of the food, really just like, if you can, think about it as for me at least, right? Let's just say what I do, right? I intermittent fast a lot during the holidays, right? So let's just say I know I'm going to have a couple big meals. I'm like during the week, I'm not going to have breakfast, lunch, and dinner on those days because for me, I know I can't function at my highest ability. Like I'm going to be brain fog from one of these dinners. I'm not going to be able to network. I'm going to take a nap. So one, if you can kind of limit your intermittent fast during the holidays, that's a really good tip. Also, like hydrate, a lot of hydration. So a lot of people overeat when they are dehydrated. So if you hydrate a lot, it also will kind of settle your stomach. And the third thing is, don't put a negative energy on the food you're eating, right? So if you're having like today, me and Steven had briskets, and we were in Tex brisket and mac and cheese, and like I knew it wasn't a great meal. I feel a little guilty over it, but it was like the moment where I had to have that. The one time this week, this 1 month, I'll have a big barbecue in Texas. Why not? No big deal. I wouldn't do it every day, but if I was stressed about it, I would probably have a stomach ache. I probably would have brain fog right now. I probably wouldn't feel great. But no, I know it was like a treat. So I think during the holidays, don't put so much pressure on yourself. And if you can meditate, you can eat 1 meal a day, and you can hydrate, no big deal, right? You'll be fine. But if you're catching yourself kind of getting off the deep end, try to do some movement. Try to do a little bit of yoga, light stretching, because it's very hard to do yoga when you're full. It's very hard, right? So if you can kind of catch yourself. If you can catch yourself, like do yoga, like every time you get kind of full, do some stretches, ground yourself. That to me always really helps. Just my own body when I'm overeating, just like, okay, can I touch my toes? This feels really uncomfortable. Can I do a squat pose? Okay, I definitely not going to eat breakfast tomorrow because I'm full. So that's kind of one of my things to do. And also, avoid just avoid the processed grains and the processed sugars if you can. But if not, limit it to like twice a week, 3 times a week during the holidays. You'll be fine. And if you can sauna, get a Therasage, an infrared sauna between meals, that's the best thing you can do.
Good call. I have a question for you because not all of our listeners know what intermittent fasting is. So can you give a really quick definition of what your version of intermittent fasting is and really quickly what the benefits are?
Yeah. So intermittent fasting, you can combine it with going on a ketogenic diet and being on ketosis, which kind of makes it a little hyperizes it both and makes it really they both compound each other and make it a great teamwork together. But I think for those who don't know, intermittent fasting is just basically eating. You have only like a 4 or 6 hour window where you eat during the day. And the ketosis, your body's only in ketosis 8 hours a day. So that means your body's running on fuel that's not based off of glucose, but based on ketones, which is fat. So it's not sugar, it's fat. So the ketogenic diet means you're running on fat versus sugar. So we want basically that fasting window when you're not in ketosis to match up with your intermittent fasting window where your body can actually run on fuel that's not sugar. It's just actually your body's ketones fueling you up. made sense. It kind of maybe was all over the place. But
so in that, to expand just a little bit, what you would, so typically in a ketogenic, on an intermittent fast, and you could also call it intermittent feeding instead of intermittent fasting. That may be the positive side of it.
Oh, I
so
like
you're
that.
not thinking fast. Oh,
I like
that's
that.
bad. So it means your feeding window, when you said 6 hours, let's say, so you may want to start eating maybe at 2:00 in the afternoon and eat till 8 p.m. or 1:00 in the afternoon, eat till 7. And that's it. That's your window to eat. When you don't eat any more than that window, your body goes into what's called autophagy and into ketosis. And it's just a really healthy way for your body to start burning away its own fat because it's living on the fat and the visceral fat that it can't normally get rid of, instead of the glucose, which would just keep you storing fat the normal way that you do. So in the holidays, that's a really great strategy to do a little bit of intermittent fasting, at least a couple of days a week, to throw yourself into ketosis and burn off fat a little better, and also keep you from gorging and eating a lot because your feeding window is a lot smaller. And you're a lot less likely to, gorge on food if you do that. So that's a great thing.
Yeah.
And the way that I hear that is just just eat once a day, or eat a big dinner. For me, at least, I've been doing that for a few months now, where I'll have a bulletproof coffee at noon or 2 p.m. and then dinner I'll eat a lot. And then I won't eat until 24 hours later.
Yeah.
Some people might find that interesting, at least for the ones that are busy or have a lot to do, because then it's less time preparing, less time eating. And there's something that happens during the day when the mindset is set to looking forward to eating at night. So it's something it's like a 24-hour prep for the mindset to know that I'm going to have an amazing energy level throughout the day, and I'm going to reward myself with a feast. It might work for some. It has been working for me. But yeah, that's how I do my intermittent fast or feeding.
Yeah, and I'll eat twice a day, but it's still in that window. I'll eat maybe 1:00 and then 6 or 7:00. And when you have a bulletproof coffee, you can do that in the morning. It's really, you call that a modified intermittent fast, but the body doesn't really recognize the coffee if you're putting butter in it, as typical food because it's so low. There is virtually no sugar in it. So you can kind of get by with that. If somebody needs a little boost with the coffee in the morning, they can still do that. And it won't destruct the intermittent fast huge degree. It's not a true intermittent fast, but it can work for people who want to start that way
it's not true, but it actually, like, it's my opinion, if you're want to get into intermittent fasting, that's the best way. Have the bulletproof coffee, MCT oil, grass-fed butter, just have your little extra fuel throughout the day. But I think, if you ever want to do intermittent fasting, whenever I feel the most sharp is on a 72-hour fast, like a 3-day fast. And I'm like laser for like the next 10 days. Like, and honestly, yeah. And I have no food cravings until maybe the 3rd day.
Chef Misha, I was supposed to start one after Thanksgiving, 3-day one. Would you like to start? And I already have a group of 10 people that did 2 months ago. And we did it as 10 people.
100%.
And we had a group going. And so we would text once a day, sharing like silly jokes, or I'm dreaming of a steak right now. It was day 2, or just encouraging words or fun things. Knowing that I was doing it with 10 other people was amazing. So if you guys like, we can do it.
That's a really good point. So I want to just mention that. So if you're more likely to be sick and unhealthy if your friends are unhealthy than if your parents are unhealthy, right? So you are kind of your community, right? So you want to do that. It's really hard to get healthy in the community. It's really hard to get healthy alone. It's much easier to get healthy in a community, right? And I think, having whether it's 10 people on a text thread, having an accountability buddy, whatever you need to kind of have that camaraderie or have that accountability is so important, especially during the holidays. If you're really, want to be focused on your diet and your health, but also just overall, just really actually having a team, a support system, not doing it alone, because, we're all entrepreneurs, not all of us, but most of us in our network are entrepreneurs, and it's a lonely world out there. And I think if you do it together and have these things where it's like a meetup, or it's a not like some people go to AA meetings. Why don't we do an intermittent fasting thread or have a, intermittent fasting meetup or whatever? I think that's, phenomenal. And I think we have to do more of that as a community, a global community, and a wellness community as well.
And Chef Misha, what would you say is the relationship between how a person feeds himself or herself and, say, spiritual health, mental health, emotional health, physical health, as it pertains to self-love and here's where the question is coming from. Lately, I've been getting this from meditation that I'm supposed to be eating with my eyes closed and chewing a lot slower and just like chill the fuck out, like just relax. And in the past, when I did that, it was amazing. So I started doing that in the last 2-3 days, closing the eyes, take a bite, close the eyes, and then but back to you. What's you, before you became who you've become and helping people heal themselves through food, what do you think is something that people can hear so they can start shifting from how they used to be in relationship to self-love and food, and who they want to be, and then using food as a way to become the next version of themselves?
Well, I think two points come out there. I think one thing I think is really important to point out is a lot of people don't see food as fuel and as nutrients. They see food as like, I got to eat to get to the next thing. I got to eat because I'm hungry. I got to stuff food in my face because I'm hungry. But if they kind of start changing how they view food, of saying calories in, calories out, but what kind of fuel am I putting in my body? Because that fuel I'm going to put in my body is going to give me that fuel to expand the energy, right? So, Stephen Klein, went to the store, he did a podcast, got spinach, got a green drink, show me your kombucha green drink, marketing, whatever. And he got an avocado, right? And that was his fuel before this, right? For me, my fuel, like if I ate anything before this, I'd be napping. Like I can't ever eat before I'm on. I have to literally be, if I'm working, like this whole weekend I was working, I can only have like one bite a day. If I'm like doing a big event, I can eat nothing until like the next day. My brain can't, it's just like when I'm empty, I'm much easier and much more clean. So if we think about fuel, I think that's really one interesting way to think about food. So those who, are not spiritual can kind of tap into that level, right? So once we get that down, that food is not just, calories in, calories out, but it's fuel information. That's important. And the second thing, and I think it's kind of a trick question, what you said, is like what would you say? It's like a spiritual. How do you see their spiritual relationship to themselves, with their, with how
self-love, how they treat themselves. How nice they're, kind.
Yeah. So I think my kind of, not like judgment, but like something I kind of judge people on, or have a. Okay, yes, I judge people. Okay, I judge people on, and you can kind of too, is you can see how people, or at least in my opinion, you can really see how someone's inner spirit or inner kind of, mirror, right, is shown by their eating habits, right? So if someone eats fast food, someone wants convenient food, someone wants quick, food, eating 5 times a day, snacking food, anxious snacking. Like always be aware for the anxious snackers, right? People are just constantly having a sugar hit, right? Those people have the darkest demons, the ones who are hiding from all this stuff and who are have the worst ayahuasca trips and breakdowns in the mushroom ceremonies. They're all the same people, right? Do an inventory in your life and you'll see they're all the same people. And the people who have kind of the lighted, I think this is why you're kind of asking this, the people who have the brightest auras, the most connected to their connection to their self, to their self-love, they have that relationship to food, not just as calories, but as, spiritual chi throwing through your body, information that's going to, give out, the best output. So you really can, in my opinion, you really can judge a person's inner kind of clock and inner morals by what they put in their body. For me, someone who's a recovering, codependent, a binge eater, recovery from the 300-pound club, I only really eat when I'm super anxious, right? So like I'll intermittent fast for 3 days because I know that one day I'm going to have to deal with that drama And like, I don't want to, like, it's better than like doing a line of cocaine or going to the strip club or, going on a spending spree, but having like a deli sandwich from New York and just passing on my couch hits that dopamine spot and, takes care of me. But I know I have that in me where it's like, I only really eat when I'm super stressed or I'm starving, because when I'm not stressed, I'm stressed a lot, but when I'm not stressed, I can actually feel my body in homeostasis, feel my body eating the fuel, for my, my ketones or maybe for my fat storage. I don't need that extra fuel, but I think everyone needs to hydrate more. And I think most of us, I think 90% of the population are dehydrated, especially in the West. And I rarely see my friends drink enough water on a daily basis. So that's a big thing of spirituality. Those who are like totally dialed in always have like a big water bottle on them. So I always see like those who eat slow, real food, and those who hydrate a lot are kind of the most spiritually enlightened people in my experience.
Cool. Well, I'd like to take this moment for you to if you have anything, the Health Warrior Project, you want to talk about or promote, or any causes, that kind of thing. I definitely want you to have the platform here to give us or tell people where they can find you.
Yeah,
where
absolutely.
where you're going to be speaking, any events.
Events. Okay, so I'm speaking at the Biohacking Congress in February. Do we know the date yet?
In Austin. I think that's February 3rd to the 5th.
3rd to the 5th. I'm doing a whole food demo and a private VIP party and a lecture there. And on a panel, so check that out. And I'm also speaking at Dave Asprey's conference, Biohacking Conference, no relation, in June in Orlando, and a few more things in between, but we'll get to that another time. But yeah, so my company, the Health Warrior Project, if you guys need any, want to find me, my website, thehealthwarriorproject.com. You can find me, you can book me for events. I do catering for anything from 2 people to 1,000 people, massive weddings, massive retreats. I also host wellness retreats in my property in Oregon. I have this wellness center I'm building where we're hosting up to 50 people per 50-person retreats. So you guys should all come out. We'll do a SuperKonnector Watercooler retreat, amazing biohacker Watercooler retreat. Maybe the next few months make that happen. But in the meantime, just check me out on Instagram and follow me, and I'll do my best to invite you to other parties. Kind of like the one you missed at the Psychedelic Church Atma in Austin, guys. Come on.
And if you want to check out some really cool, entheogenic or plant medicine stuff that's going on in Austin, go to www.atma.church, and you'll see some amazing things going on here. This is just an incredible facility, 15 minutes south of Austin, and this incredible property where there's all kind of amazing things going on. So check that out. That's where we had our party last night, as I mentioned. And that's a pretty, it was a longer segment for us for the water cooler, but I had the opportunity to have Misha here with me, so I want to do a little deeper dive.
Do you guys have 3 more minutes?
Yeah.
You have 3 more minutes? Yeah? All right. I have a question for Chef Misha. Okay. When it comes to, what do you think can be the impact of when people start cooking at home using not just ingredients that are amazing, but also using intention to help their relationship? Meaning, if there's husband and wife, or girlfriend, boyfriend, or maybe single people that want to call in their life partner and have not thought about becoming an amazing chef or becoming someone that can put food together and bless others with their cooking. What have you noticed in your parties, many parties that we hosted, that people that took after you start modeling some of the things you do and how their relationships changed?
Really interesting you say that. So just really quick, an exercise. Think about going to one of your friends' houses with kids, if they have kids, who can't cook around dinner time. Think about the stress that everyone that it goes on, right? What do we order? What are we going to get? What are you going to do? Are you going to cook? Who's going to clean? It's an extra stress every day, every meal, on every family, unless they know what they're doing. This is like an added stress you don't need. So when you said that, it's funny. I actually have a few clients that once they started cooking every meal at home, because they had 2 of them were obese and had really bad health issues. Another couple I had, one guy had cancer, the other woman had diabetes, and they put on the same program together. But when the couples go on together, you actually watch not just the relationships get better because they're spending time at the grocery store, they're researching recipes, they're touching vegetables, they're going to the farmer's market picking out vegetables, they're cooking together, and it's not so much like, oh my God, are we gonna have like rice and beans and Uncle Ben's rice and grilled chicken, like again for another night, boiled chicken. It's like we're really having intention with it. So I have seen a lot of relationships change. But in terms of so one thing I used to do is when I graduated college, all my friends did not know how to cook, right? So, when I was single, I would always save money. I would just cook for my dates. And it would be like have girls come over, 2 bottles of wine, spend $30 on groceries for 2 people, much cheaper than going out to eat, right? So one of my friends was like, you need to start cooking for us and just your networks, like your friend group, and have on our dates, just leave really quick and teach us what to do. And it'll look like we're, so actually I trained my friends to cook. So they would actually cook for their girlfriends, and they would actually help on these first dates, actually help the relationships and help these guys lock these girlfriends in, because they're just showing their tender, loving selves. Like, hey, I can, massage, kale before I, put in a salad. I know how to strain my lettuce. It's very interesting you said that, because when you're more intimate with your food, you have to be more intimate with your relationships around you, right? And it's not just your partner or your children, but it's everyone around you, right? You have more respect for humanity if you actually know how these organisms came to be, from seed to table, really, right?
Awesome. Thank you, Chef. Thank you, Chef Misha. I love that. Cool. Steven, thanks for inviting Chef Misha. Thanks for you gentlemen showing up and sharing your wisdom. Maybe we'll do this some other time. And great chat today. Anything else to close?
I'm going to give you a surprise, Fernando, and a bonus. Since you brought up chocolate earlier, I'll challenge you to go find a good sourced dark chocolate that's 85% cacao or more. 85% is a good one. Anything more than that's going to be a little bitter. But go look at that chocolate, look on the back, and look how much sugar is in that chocolate. And you'll be shocked to see that there's no more than 3 or 4 or 5 grams in a serving. So it's absolutely healthy. And it's a superfood. So you can actually eat that with no guilt. Just be careful.
During the holidays.
Just make sure you don't eat it too late at night, because a lot of them contain some caffeine, might keep you up or something. But it's actually really, really good for you, and it's low sugar. Counterintuitive, but that's because most people eat milk chocolate or badly sourced chocolate. So surprise, there you go.
All right, 85%. I'm in. I'll go get it tomorrow.
Dark chocolate for the holidays, everybody. Get your dark chocolate up.
Yeah, totally. And also feed someone else dark chocolate.
Well, I think that's very important, right? Well, that's really a good point. So you can't just do it for yourself, right? So always think when you feed yourself healthy food, try to bring someone else into your table, bring someone else to your, someone who can't afford a ticket to a party. Just, to one of my parties, I always let them come. Next time you're in my town, bring a friend, because it's all about feeding community. You can't feed them if you don't give them nutrients in the first place. So thank you for having us.
Yeah. All right, guys. Have a great night. Enjoy. Till next time. Have a great night.
Take care. Thank you.
Take care. Bye for now.